Now, let's move along to your home country. You wrote a powerful piece for The Spectator today where you said you're embarrassed by modern Britain and that you no longer even recognise your own country. Why is that?
Well, it's several things. One is the fact that, as I say in that piece, virtues and certain aspects of the national characteristic, which I grew up with, and which I think epitomized Britain, like a sort of certain doggedness, a sort of stoicism, and actually, I think a courage in the face of adversity, a quiet courage, which was strong when provoked, all seem to have disappeared. There's endless sort of whining. The House of Commons this week spent its time talking about whether or not the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak should have made a reference to trans people that wasn't 100% politically correct in the eyes of the left, whilst the mother of a murdered trans child was in the gallery of the Commons, and they all were just out competing each other to be more and more invasive about that. Meantime, massive problems affecting the country, like the fact we have these hate marches every Saturday, in which people are completely, mainly Muslims, are completely unbothered about exposing their bigotries, their hatreds, including their hatred of Britain. This just goes on all the time. Every Saturday, it happened again last Saturday, they actually clamber over our war memorials to our war dead, and they defile them and desecrate them. And the police let them do it. And by
Hmm.
contrast, there has recently been an MP who we discussed before who stepped down because of threats to his life from Muslim extremists. And everyone in the Commons and elsewhere sort of said, oh, well, how sad. And I don't recognize that. I remember the generation of Margaret Thatcher, who, when the Brighton bomb went off, the conference bomb, the Brighton hotel bomb that was meant to kill her, did kill a number of her friends and many others, stood outside the next day and said, the conference will go ahead. We will never give in to the men of violence. I don't know where that spirit has gone. It seems to have been beaten out of many of the British people, at least, certainly our
Hmm.
ruling class.
Well, yeah, that stoic, stiff upper lip has been replaced by self loathing, it seems. Is that what Britain needs? A leader like Thatcher? The options of the coming election are pretty grim, Douglas. Ain't no
They
Thatchers
are.
there.
No, there certainly ain't. I mean, Keir Starmer is just trying to get through and get into office with people noticing as little as possible about his policies. I suspect he'll make them plain to us, as I said before, once he's in office. And Rishi Sunak just has this terrible, terrible, increasing desperation in his eyes as he realizes that he's for the chop at the electoral ballot box. But yes, it's this thing. I mean, you can see him there, this sort of grinning, desperate to please, no real leadership, no willingness to do the unpopular things you sometimes need to do and just explaining, not leading but following, as the phrase goes. But as I say, the thing that just stuns me is, Britain has undergone massive demographic transformation in the last couple of decades, and it's a transformation which has gone on rocket fuel under this Conservative government. It will almost certainly continue at a similar rate under a Labour government. And it seems to me that it's because of this that our political class is so incapable of identifying problems in front of it.
Mm.
When the MP who said he would stand down because of threats to his life stood down, he said that one of the reasons was that his murdered colleague, Sir David Amess, was murdered by Ali Harbi Ali. And one of the other people he wanted to apparently kill was Mike Freer. Well, an interview this
Mm.
week in an interview this week, Mike Freer was asked about this, and then the interviewer said, "What motivated Ali Harbi Ali?" And Mike Freer said, "I'm not sure about that. I don't know."
Oh,
Well,
jeez.
here's what: he was killed by an Islamist who followed jihadist ideology. And it's a darn fool
Mm.
position for a man to be in, to stand up for somebody more than he's willing to stand up for himself. But I can say this on behalf of Mike Freer. The person who was apparently thinking of killing him and who did kill Sir David Amess MP was motivated by jihadist ideology. And I would have liked to have seen in the wake of that Sir David's MPs not just mourn his death as if he had died of natural causes, but to have said, we will root this ideology out of Britain wholesale. It has no place here. Did anyone come near saying that? No, not a bit.
Oh,
And
but
that is a
they didn't.
catastrophe for Britain.
Absolute catastrophe. They didn't even say it when jihadists murdered children at a concert. You just wonder what they're thinking and why they just show this cowardice. You've been impacted by this in a small way just in the past week. Your speech had to be moved after the venue submitted to the bullying and the threats, I'd imagine, of the anti-Israeli mob. But the protesters still turned up at another venue to scream abuse about you. Let's have a look.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Lyric Theatre, shame on you! No much theatre, shame on you!
Douglas, do you feel safe in modern Britain, in London?
Well, I don't think anyone's particularly safe in modern Britain, modern London. I think Jews are particularly unsafe. I was meant to be speaking at the Apollo Theatre on Shaftesbury Avenue in the heart of the West End. 1,000 people were turning out. And the theatre was bullied into cancelling the event on the day. And the event was moved to a synagogue, which was the only place the police could protect. I believe that the job of the British police on such an occasion, I believe the job of the theatre is to keep the show on the road. And I believe the job of the police is to ensure that the public and attendees are safe. But that wasn't what happened. Some of the staff were apparently threatened, ushers and so on. And instead of the owners reporting this to the police immediately and the police taking action, the staff said they wouldn't turn up to work. So then more people were brought in from another theatre, and then they had their addresses leaked. They were apparently threatened and intimidated in turn, and they too refused to turn up. So,
Douglas, it's mob rule. It's mob rule that the thugs are winning. It is not should not be happening in a civilised country. Douglas Murray, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it.